You're working everywhere in the world. After the Trump's decision, did you have any visible consequence already around the world or in Europe mainly? Did you have any sign of any other government trying or thinking to do the same?
I would say it's a global trend. One of the things which we face globally, this is a growing amount of the attention from the regulators, from the law enforcement, to the global cybersecurity companies. It's not only about Kaspersky Lab. This is true that we face some problems, geopolitical problems in the US. I would say we are far ahead of the curve. Other companies will follow because it's not just about us. This is a global trend. There is a trend on protectionism. There is a trend on balkanization. So the global internet, the global cybersecurity space, as we knew it for 20, for 30 years, is not the same as it was a year or 2 years ago. Now it's been put into fragments, into pieces, and it's breaking in parts. So yes, I need to admit we face additional questions in Europe, for example. Fortunately for us, European regulators, European governments are sticking to facts. They are driven by facts and evidences rather than gossips and speculations. That's what we see in the US. So European law enforcement agencies and government bodies are driven by facts. We need to do extra job in explaining what we do. We need to do extra job in showing our transparency, explaining the principles, explaining how we collect and process data. So yes, we have many questions, but generally I would say it's not as sharp as in the United States.
The main points they raise in the United States are, one, the potential threat, because they say, well, you're Russian. And the second point, they say, well, you have some kind of sliding doors with FSB. How can you reassure everyone on the fact that nobody's actually asking to spy anyone?
It's indeed very hard, because right now we are in the position when we say trust us. The Global Transparency Initiative, which we announced last year, is the big strategic program for our company, which goal is to show facts and proofs. So our goal is to develop such a system that we are going out, moving, shifting from the question of trust to the question of facts and figures. So there are a few parts in this initiative. Firstly, this is independent audit of our internal processes, internal systems, and the way we deploy and develop source code. We are currently, literally right now, this week and the next week, agreeing on the contract, and we will launch the audit within a month, I hope. It's going to be done, I cannot tell you the name, but it's going to be done by one of the big 4 companies. So it's going to be done by big international independent auditor. Another part, this is a review of the source code and review of the updates. This is complicated task, very long and not really simple. So we are still looking for the partner, but it's going to be done for sure. It's going to be done in a transparency center, which we announced also last year. We're going to have 3 transparency centers, one in North America, one in Asia, and one in Europe. And the one in Europe will be launched within a few months. And this is going to be the place where we review our source code and the updates.
You are saying about reviewing the source code, but it's not at a given point you can review even the flow, all the updates in any moment.
This is partly true. Indeed, this is very complicated task to develop live system. So you're right, it's not just about source code, it's also about updates. So we need to develop such a system which will allow to review updates which are developed almost every day. There are a few solutions, and one of the solutions is that every update is still delivered, but every update is stored in the repository, it's signed, and is available for the review. So even if there is anything bad in this update, sooner or later it's going to be found. So this is one of the options which we are developing.
Mm-hmm. You are saying anything bad in the update, it's just the update or also the communication flow, I mean between the server and your servers for the update. If there's an intermission in the communication, is it also going to become visible in this case?
Right now, all the data which we collect and process is being finally delivered to Russia. This is going to change. I cannot tell you more so far, but we are redesigning our R&D systems. We are redesigning our R&D facilities, and the situation, the design of the system, so it's changing. It's changing. Look, we understand that the world is changing. The global cybersecurity landscape is changing. The way we worked for 20 years is not possible anymore. Even though we don't do anything bad, even though all these allegations are false, we do understand that the world is changing. There is no much trust anymore. Nobody trusts anyone in this new world. There are geopolitical tensions between countries, and we do understand that we need to address this challenge, this problem. We need to address these concerns, and we do that by global transparency initiative, source code review, independent audit, bug bounty increase, and also redesign of our R&D. So we are doing all of that.
So just a final question about the a legal point. I mean, if anyone in Russia obliges you to monitor someone, Mr. Kaspersky already said it never happened, and if it happened, he would refuse or move everything abroad. Would that be the reaction?
Well, as he said in his interview, that if he would have been asked something like that, he would have moved Kaspersky out of the country. It's hard for me to speak on his behalf, but this is what he said not so long time ago.
Refusing something like that in Russia would mean losing a huge business, because if I'm not wrong, you have 20% of your global share in Russia. Is it right?
I think it's less. Actually, we are very big on Russian market. We are basically the main player on Russian market. But you need to understand that Russian domestic market is not the main for us. We are European market in general, Europe, and the United States is much more important for us.
What's precious for you in Russia? If I'm not wrong, in Russia you have many experts and also many cyber criminals in Russia or around Russia or Russian language anyway. Is it a reason to stay in Russia?
Well, the main reason is simple. It's economics, I mean. Russian software developers, Russian software engineers are very good, one of the best in the world, and at the same time they're not as expensive as in other countries. So from time to time we review, we evaluate if we can build our R&D in another country, and Russia for us is the perfect place in terms of value and money. So we are happy with the level of developers, and we're happy with the costs which we have right now in Moscow.
Okay, how does it work technically? I mean, if you sign a contract, for example, with a ministry, they never give you key in hands all their servers.
So let's say we have a government contract in somewhere in Europe. The company approaches our manager, a sales manager on the territory. Together with the distributor, we deliver our licenses. The product is deployed, set up, configured in the system, and it runs. And actually, it's very important to stress that the information about the malware samples is being sent to the system called KSN, Kaspersky Security Network. And if we're talking about enterprise products, the one installed in the big companies, in the government customers, you can switch off KSN, and no single byte of the information of the files in the organization is being sent outside. And you can easily check it. You can easily monitor what's being checked by third-party solutions, and in case when KSN is switched off, nothing is sent.
So if a ministry signs a contract, even for a part of their server, even for just one function or one service, they can switch it off. They can close the system.
Of course. Once again, if KSN is off, almost nothing is sent. There is only technical information about the license number is sent. So then the computer is connected, it sends information about the license, I am live, can I work, and the signal comes back, okay, work. And no files are sent, no information about malware is sent, nothing is collected and nothing is sent outside. And you can easily check and easily monitor it with the third-party solutions, with the firewalls. You can check that nothing has been sent outside. But at the same time, you need to understand that if you opt out of KSN, the level of protection is not as good as it could be with KSN on.
Obviously, because you have no new information to elaborate in this case.
Exactly, exactly. There is a delay in the time we inform the product itself about new threats. In the product itself, there is an option recording the traces, recording all the telemetry. And if you switch it on, you can see all the files which were sent, the time you switched on, the time you switched off, the time we detected something, the time we sent some information, the verdict of the information which was sent back. You can see everything.
As you said, if it happened that anyone tries to oblige you to spy, you move abroad. Did you already prepare any protocol for that, just in case?
We have 1,500 people here working in R&D in Russia. 1,500 people. That's a lot of people. So it's a good question. Thanks for that. I will double check it. But as I said, we are already started redesigning our R&D to fight to address these allegations with problems. One more thing to add. I'm the guy who is running this initiative, so I'm like a project manager for these transparency centers. And when we just started, I was very enthusiastic. I thought we can do it easily, really fast, because we have these problems and we need to address them. Let's do it fast. But what I found out after half year of managing this project, that it's extremely complicated project. There is no one-stop shop in the world. There is no one place in the world where I come and say, hey, my name is Anton, I'm from Kaspersky Lab. We have problems of trust. We have problems with transparency. We have questions about our source code. Can you please check us? No, nobody can help you. So we have the thirst to face these questions. As I said, others will follow, unfortunately. This is the direction the cybersecurity industry is moving. The level of trust is really low now. So now we have the thirst to develop these frameworks. We have the thirst to understand what can we do, what to do with the updates, what to do with the source code. How can we develop such a system which is trusted by default? And my aim, my goal is to develop such a system which is suicidal for us in case of abuse. So I want to develop such a system where everything is stored, recorded, signed, and available for the review and research. And if there is any abuse, it's suicidal for us. And we are looking for the partners, for the third party, which will verify and confirm that indeed this system works like that. Indeed, this is suicidal for Kaspersky in case of abuse.
Suicidal, you mean?
Suicidal, I mean, it's going to be public. It's going to be public. If there is anything bad, if there is a backdoor, if there is a malicious update, it's going to be public. So this is what I call suicidal.
Okay, that's clear. That's something which, at the same time, gives you an added experience, something which could be useful also for other operators later.
That's true. That's true. And look, I'm really sure that other companies will come to us and say, "How did you do that? Please help us, teach us what to do," because others will follow.
Do you think all this dynamic will impoverish the quality of protection around the world if it becomes more and more national, more and more suspicious?
For sure, that's for sure, because at the end of the day, we invest our time, resources in this project. We would rather invest them in R&D, in developing new solutions, but we have to invest our time and money and people resources to this project, which is fine. But what is more dangerous is that cyberspace doesn't know borders. Criminals can be in Russia, attack United States, and then cash money through Southeast Asia and India. No borders. But if the countries stop talking to each other, if they build additional walls around that, if it's hard for companies like ours to share information, it's getting harder and harder to protect our customers around the world. Because again, no borders in cyberspace. But at the same time, for criminals, but at the same time for companies, there are higher and higher walls being built. And unfortunately, the only beneficiaries of what's going on in the cyberspace, I mean, geopolitical tensions, freeze of international cooperation, problems our company face and others, the only beneficiaries are cyber criminals who enjoy and abuse these tensions between countries and steal more and more and more. So this is the problem, and you are very right. Enterprises it's strategically not good for enterprises, for customers, for citizens to have these kind of tensions.